Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 4 of the Rewatch Podcast, presented by the Terrible Video Gamers Club. I'm your host, Tyler Schatz, who did not sleep with that woman. Joining me for this fine recording session is one Stephen Howard.
So say you're taking a shit in the woods.
Amanda Howard.
Who also considers it a crime if you make me go fly fishing with somebody.
One Josh Cox.
Also here.
Nick Castillo.
Who also had a question about shitting in the woods. So, are we the doves?
And last, but certainly never least, one Gary Delaney.
I was just going to say, compared to the last episode, I feel like this movie would have been made better with a little more singing and dancing.
Because it's a high production budget movie there, so of course, it falls into Gary's wheelhouse if it's a better movie because they spent more money on it.
Also, a lot better actors. Like, I feel like we talked about this before the podcast started. Steven, how many of the actors in this movie do you know from something else?
Hold on. Okay. We are discussing the movie Primary Colors from 1998.
3.
Okay.
Wait, right. Sorry. 3 is the book.
Go.
All right, so real quick, just some fun facts to get out of the way first. This movie is actually based on a book which was actually published anonymously. It was later revealed that it was a person that was working, or a journalist who was covering the Clinton campaign. But that book was published in 1996. Obviously, this movie 1998, and the movie was critically acclaimed, Gary. But Gary failed at the box office, Gary, earning $5.21 million, Gary, for a budget of $65 million, Gary. I say Gary on all that because I know that you need to know all those specifics.
It wasn't a terrible movie. I could see that no one would go pay money to see this movie, though. It is a DVD. It's a blockbuster DVD rental sort of movie.
Man, what did they say in the commentary?
I was just going to say a quick clarification. I had $52.1 million it earned off of 65. So yeah. Not as bad a flop as $5 million, but.
Oh, did I say 5?
Yeah, it's 5.21. I was like, whoa. I'd happen to look it up earlier. I'm like, I don't remember being that bad. Yeah. He then went on to do Battlefield Earth after this. So,
right into another banger.
But Tom Hanks actually was almost involved in this movie, but was filming actually Saving Private Ryan at the same time, so was actually handed this movie off.
Better choice.
And obviously, I think to get something out of the way.
Who is Tom Hanks going to play?
I don't know.
The lead, I would assume.
He's going to play like some side character you meet once for 10 seconds.
Just a
momentary. He's like, I got better things to do filming this war movie. Some Steven Spielberg guy won't leave me alone.
Who knows?
Had to turn down the role of the barbecue shop owner. Yeah.
I say he's going to be Billy Bob Thornton's character and expose himself to his turn.
Oh my God, that is totally a Tom Hanks type of role.
I
don't think I could see him playing a Billy Bob character in this one.
I would hope that was sarcasm from Gary there.
That was total sarcasm.
Yeah, hey guys, I knew who Tom Hanks was. Look at that. Anyways,
okay. How many other
hold on.
in this movie do you know?
Hold on.
I will get
there.
Okay.
This movie is a work of fiction, by the way. It is not a actual categorical following of the campaign. So this is not a historical thing. It was a homage to the Clinton campaign, and it nailed some of the characters so well that a lot of people do think it was based on a historical thing, but it is not historical in any way, shape, or form. This was actually published sent out at an auspicious time during the Lewinsky affair. So that is one of the reasons why it got so much traction there. Maybe last, just fun fact here, although John Travolta did base his character off of Bill Clinton a bit and a couple other presidents, Emma Thompson did not base her character at all on Hillary Clinton throughout this entire movie.
Interesting.
I am so impressed Steven knows her name.
I wrote it down. I have an entire page of written down stuff.
Emma Thompson.
Like, and the fact that he knows that that's an issue.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to get to that. I have something to get to that here. But Nick.
That's growth. I did write that down. I knew that it was a fiction in the portrayal, but I did have that down that if it's loosely based, like, or at least that we had talked about Travolta portrayed part of his mannerisms and character voice kind of on Clinton. I was like, is this pulled from something? Is this an allusion to something? I told Tyler, just as an aside, right before we got going, that I Googled so much watching this movie, just to like try and understand, is this a tie to this? Is this something like this? And so I figured it was fiction, but I was curious how much was my only comment. So,
yeah, and I guess I wrote down like a couple of things there too of like, I wonder who these characters are supposed to represent in the Clinton, like if it was more tied to the Clinton campaign. Like, I don't know the Clinton campaign staff that well, but I could kind of like, even though you said she wasn't, I kind of like equated Emma Thompson to Hillary Clinton, John Travolta to Bill Clinton there. Even though John Travolta's accent is just like all over the place throughout this movie, it feels like. Because like the first like 10 minutes of the movie, I wrote down, okay, yeah, I really see the Bill Clinton mannerisms and stuff like that coming through, and then that just kind of disappears and his voice changes again. But then like the only other one that I thought was like Billy Bob Thornton playing kind of maybe like a James Carville type character there, because I've heard him speak and stuff like that a little bit, and just kind of like not as profane as what Billy Bob Thornton was saying there in the movie, but it's just kind of maybe a little bit of that mannerism and style there from him.
Yeah, it's a hard thing because it's this movie is, I mean, I don't want to give away my first question. I'll just say my first question here real quick before I actually get to the background. First question for everyone, and so the first time I listened to this was in high school, and it was for an AP government class. Now, there was a quiz after this class with 20 questions, and I got only one question wrong. So 95%. I'm going to ask you all that one question that I got wrong, because it is a really tough one. What is the name of the governor that was running for president?
Like,
Jack Stanton.
Yeah.
The main character?
All I could think about was it was Bill Clinton. And so that's what I wrote down was Bill Clinton, because I couldn't remember what the name of the character on that I watched an entire 2.5-hour movie was. And that is what I'm getting to when I'm saying, no, I don't remember people's names.
You always remind me of like Sherlock in that regard, when you're just like, look, I keep the important stuff in my head. I don't have room for this trivial. Like, you might know the plot, you might know all of the metaphors, you might catch every little thing, but you are not at all going to waste your time memorizing actors, characters.
Right, Susan.
See.
But I guess the background of how I actually got to this movie was, and I guess to first note, this isn't probably our first overtly political movie. It is overtly political and non-political at the same time. I think as we go through it, that's something that will come out. For reference and to clarify why I liked this movie so much, just to kind of put everyone off, I was a very political teenager, and that's always a horribly bad thing. You should never be a political teenager in high school, because you're either going to be psychotically left or psychotically right. I was on the right end of the spectrum. And so that, to give you a little bit of impression, I did still really like this movie at the time, and this is a left-leaning movie. I would say, I think that's not up for debate there. But it is depicting a Democratic presidential contender running for the Democratic nomination for the president of the United States, obviously Bill Clinton, and that's just to get it out of the way. It is a political movie. That being said, I did first watch this movie in either 2007, 2008. I don't know really which one. When my senior year of high school, so one of those 2 years, and it was for my AP government
10
class.
years after it came out.
Yes, this is the first time I ever heard of it. Was Mr. Anderson walking in and saying, "All right, guys, we're going to watch a movie," because he did not want to teach us, because he did not like us. So, shout out to Mr. Anderson. Anyways, yeah, I guess I was the only kid in class who didn't sleep through this movie, because it just caught me somehow. It just absolutely caught me, and yeah, I guess that is my background on this. Nick.
Was there? I have a response to something you said earlier, but a quick question on Caught You. Was there anything that drew you into the story?
I think it was
you can remember?
the kind of the professional, and that was going to actually be my first question too, is there's a lot of talk between professional and amateur politics in this, and it was the professional politics that really caught me. And I don't think that anyone needs to know necessarily what the difference between amateur and professional politics is, but it's mentioned multiple times in this movie, and I feel like it's a little bit important to understand some of how this movie works. So I did want to, without understanding or maybe without having the political background that I have, did having the people talk between, oh, you're an amateur or you're a professional in terms of politics, did that kind of confuse you guys going through the movie at all?
Mm-mm.
No?
No. The delineation of that it was already made clear whenever I watched Parks and Rec, and you had the people who were campaigning for Leslie and then against Leslie, and it's like, well, that's my job. It's whatever. I campaign. I do this. I do that. So
I just listen to the people do blah blah blahs, and I assume the difference between amateur and professional is the same definition of amateur professional in any other field. Like, you are someone who is good but not at the highest level, and you're working your way to that, or you're professional, which means you don't need to learn from anyone else. You're the person other people learn their bullshit from.
That's actually incorrect. That would be professional in this regard, and that's the reason why I wanted to bring it up. It's not that you're wrong. In many fields, you are right, but in politics, the idea is that, like what JC was saying, if you're a professional, you're a mercenary. You don't have any real political views. You're just there to get things through, to make things work. If you're an amateur, you're someone who has strong political beliefs, and you're what you would think of the people who go out and actually talk to people about politics, to really try to get involved in the community. Those are amateurs. No, not even joking. According to politics, so that's why it can get a little confusing. Nick.
Interesting. I wrote several notes down, but on your comment about forgetting who people are, I had that same note, and you basically had it written on the head. At one point, they reference early on in the show, but they reference Ozio, and they just kept calling him Ozio. And I wrote down the note, who the F is Ozio? Like, they keep referring to him with this like high esteem, and I wrote down, the show is so focused on depicting Jack as relatable and charismatic, it doesn't do a very good job of explaining who all the relationships are in his orbit. As I'm writing these notes, I realize I don't know who half these people are that he's frequently talking to, other than that they're drawn to him or either personally picked to help curate the performance he's giving.
Yeah, and so Ozio was the governor of New York, and so it's just assumed watching this movie that because he's the governor of New York, you know he's a powerful player. You don't have to know anything else about him. So it's implying that you already know that, which is hard to watch a movie and just come in off the cold and just say, "Oh, well, of course that's how politics works." It's Gary.
Oh, I was just gonna say I knew he was the guy from the debate, and then he shows up later, but he's the front runner. Like, I didn't need to know who he was. He was one of the other talking heads from the debate. Like, and based on the fact that he had the most airtime during the debate scene, I just knew that was Ozio. Even though he tripped up, like, and that's why they were excited. Like, they didn't give as much airtime in the movie to any of the other candidates.
Wasn't that Harris that was in the debate? Ozio wasn't? Oh, I could be wrong.
That's what I was thinking.
Harris was a senator, and he was the one that had a heart attack. I don't remember. Ozil, is that what it was? Ozio. Was someone else? Was like the other governor that he was running. There was a couple different people he was running against.
Okay, so yeah,
you have to narrow the field,
right?
Before they narrow the field down.
It's rough to be able to understand all these different people that it doesn't even show you half these people. It just goes, oh, we're going to mention him once. I hope you now remember who he is, because he's a political homage to someone else that you should know if you were in the 90s. Thanks, guys. Amanda?
So I just finished binge watching a personal favorite show of mine, West Wing, like 2 weeks ago before jumping into this. So it's hard to not compare and contrast them for me. But compared to that, I was like, oh yeah, this is right up the same alley. I get it. All the names, all the faces, all the duh, you should already know this kind of thing. And yet it was significantly less political because that one focuses a lot more on like ideas and like their personal political beliefs. So like when Stephen was saying like this is a political, there is this, it honestly didn't strike me that way because I was like, they did it, but it almost felt like you could sub in any word in a couple things and it would be very interchangeable because they focus much more on him and his relationships than anything else.
And in that way, it is very professional. It is not really like I think we were talking a little bit about this. There are a couple times where it introduces what the Democratic platforms were back in the 90s. But honest to God, it does not talk about actual political opinions very often in this movie. There's like 2 or 3 times max that it talks about political opinions. It's a very professional political movie in terms of it's all about maneuvering. It's all about strategy. It's all about tactics. It's not about ideas. Tyler.
Yeah, I kind of wrote down here too that this is like the behind the scenes look at kind of a Hollywoodized version of a campaign and how it was kind of run. It's not really so much about the politics itself, but it's like, how do we run a presidential campaign in the 90s?
And compared to something like The West Wing, like as I've also enjoyed it, and especially CJ Craig shows up as Alex and Janie's in the first moments of the show, of the movie. And so it's the West Wing comparison was already strong for me, and you have that very Bartlett moment of speaking about the adult education moments, and it's a very moving moment. He feels very genuine, and then it's immediately almost undercut by the fact that he apparently went and slept with CJ, whatever her actual name is in the show. And so it's it was very yin and like I can't remember the actual term, but it was very much like I couldn't figure out what we were trying to go for here. Was this a West Wing Bartlett, everything is amazing and politics are great, or this is a sleaze fest, everything sucks in politics type of movie? And it's a bit of both ultimately, I think.
And that was actually going to be my first question. Is the first thing that we learn about Stanton is that he's talking to all these teachers, and he has a really emotional moment with the people that he's talking to there, and it's like you're feeling, wow, he's really connecting with them. And then he goes and sleeps with the teacher's union rep, and lies to his wife about it, and everyone's apparently walking around like this is a normal thing. And I just want to know, like what JC just said, what was your kind of feelings to that? Because that's a big juxtaposition there. That is a very big juxtaposition. Tyler.
I took it kind of as the I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but that leaning into like the Bill Clinton aspect of this character. Like, I myself don't personally know like how much the sleeping around Bill Clinton may or may not have done in his career there and stuff like that. I know that's played up a lot in comedy and everything like that. I thought that was just taking that character trait of the Bill Clinton aspect-esque of this character and kind of hyping it up right then and there to kind of just show you he's got these 2 different personality quirks to him.
It's more a trope, it seemed. It kind of took me by surprise when he first came up, because it's like the door opens and nobody even bats an eye. Like, it was just like, hey, see ya, as she walks out the door, and then takes a phone call from his wife right afterwards and just acts all like nonchalant about it. When I was getting ready to watch this video, it does have a little blurb about the show, and it says amid a sex scandal, talking about like while he's campaigning. So I kept waiting for Alice and Janie's character of Mrs. Walsh to come back into the story, but she wasn't in the sex scandal. It's like, oh, there's another one. Oh, and another one. Oh, and now he's facing this. So it's like there's all these other things. And it's that flip flop of, is he really, the person at the library where he's sincere and he can connect and he can be, the amateur politician where he really connects and cares deeply about the people, his constituents, or is it just all performance and then he's going to go sleep with somebody else? Oh yeah, it was very jarring at first on my side.
Yeah, and I kind of thought that some of his staff protested a bit much at the idea, and I was like, you literally saw him walking out, like, in front of this. Now, you are a political staff, you know he's running for president. How did none of you been like, ooh, how do we keep this not happening? So, like, it's not like he was already someone small. He was literally already running for president, and they just opened the door and act like this was totally not a big deal. And then later on, when they realized someone else might be coming out, they're like, "Oh, maybe we should find out how much of this there is." What do you mean? Apparently, you just asked Saf. How did his wife not know about it?
Honestly, I think that's a great question, and that's one of the things I got to as well. Going through the movie and maybe not jumping ahead too far, but there are a couple moments where the Mrs. I guess what's his name?
Stanton.
Mrs. Clinton. I can't remember his name now. I was going to say Bill Clinton, but yeah, I'm going to just say Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, because that's how I remember them. But there's a couple times where it seems that Hillary doesn't actually know what Bill has been doing, and it's very emotional. But like what Amanda's saying, it almost seems like, how could you not know with this much stuff happening? I find it very hard to believe that she had no idea that this sleeping around was happening. I don't know if it felt that way to you guys.
Yeah, I will say it kind of felt like that right away in the beginning, but it almost felt like it didn't know what it wanted to do. Of like, it felt like it kind of went back and forth sometimes. Of like, oh, she doesn't know, but yet she really knows, but maybe she doesn't know or something like that. So it for her character wise, it didn't feel like they had a clear cut idea of which way is she wanting to play it, or maybe upon a rewatch, maybe there's something about those scenes that maybe indicates, oh, she really does know, but in this setting, she's kind of playing it up a little bit differently than she would in this other setting. Go ahead, Gary.
Do you think that maybe the movie sort of like assumes the audience is dumb because they have to like show that scene with the librarian first, and then they have to like very much give you the sense that like he is a philanderer, and then it's like, oh, well, it turns out he also maybe has a baby with his babysitter. And it's just like, I feel like without that earlier scene, it would have been more shocking and more like, oh shit. And then like his wife slapping him would have been a little more earned. Like, I felt like the movie just kind of, I don't know, spoon fed the idea way too early. JC?
To an extent, like, I think this movie feels like there are moments of caricature rather than character. Like, especially later on, it feels like, I don't know if Steven's read the book. I assume, if anybody here has read it, I assume Steven might have. Okay, he's shaking his head no. But it almost feels like the book was perhaps like, if it had been completely adapted, it would have been like a 3.5 hour movie or a 4 hour movie. So they just kind of like shoved a lot of things really quickly at the end. Don't know that for sure, but it's kind of how it felt. So in some sense, yeah, perhaps it might be a little dumbed down, for lack of a better word, for the audience, but I don't think it was necessarily like that they felt that it was needed for the shock value of it for the audience. But I think it was more just to highlight almost like what we mentioned earlier, is that juxtaposition between that immediate moment of this guy's the real deal and this very next scene, Uncle Charlie's not real. He's sleeping with the teachers union rep, like all these things. So yeah, it's a lot. Steven, if you have more points on that.
I was just going to say as well, I'm not sure that I do think it was a choice. I don't necessarily know. I think I kind of agree with what Tyler was saying in terms of, I'm not sure they entirely knew if their character of Hillary Clinton knew which way she was going to go. But that being said, I also don't think that they wanted the shock value. I think they really wanted to say, hey, this isn't a shocking thing. everyone knew this was happening. Everyone around him knew this was happening. This is a routine thing that he does. It's not shocking. It's not crazy. It's not going to blow the lid off of anyone, except unless you don't know who he is or he's running for president, which he happens to be. So to you, it's a routine thing. But how do you stop that routine thing from being a shocking event on a national scale?
I was going to say, too, in terms of Susan Stanton's character, especially the scene near the end with Libby, it felt more like this was a case that there's almost some sort of emotional abuse aspect to her character, where this is almost perhaps a denial or something, where she might just be willfully choosing to remain ignorant about these things, but it's something that is just being done to her by Jack, where it's this constant betrayal, and even if she knows and can probably expect in a logical sense that it's going to keep happening, it still doesn't make it not hurt. It still is something that is traumatizing every single time it's brought in front of you, especially by people that you consider your peers and coworkers and the media at large.
And I think we're almost dancing around what I feel like is the thesis of this movie. And the thesis of this movie is, when presented with a situation where you can choose the basically the idealism or the realism of something, if you see that Governor Jack Stanton is the real deal, as long as you can ignore all these other faults, do you still continue to advocate for him? Do you still continue to defend him? And we see a lot of people, I think this entire movie is dancing around that question, is just because you were the real deal politically, does that mean that you can be a shitty human being and everyone just has to kind of accept it? I think that Emma Thompson had the one line of, we all do what we need to do to get by. And she's staring into empty space at that time. And that's, she has made a deal with the devil, and the deal with the devil is she is going to protect her husband and all those things because she believes that politically, at least, he is good for this country. And it's I like I said, I think that is the main thesis of this entire movie, and every single question that we have throughout this movie is that idealism versus realism, and it keeps playing back and forth, back and forth. I guess the next thing that, obviously, in the movie itself, the next thing that we learn about Stanton is that he is not as cool as a cucumber, and I actually do kind of enjoy this scene. He has a meeting with Ozio's son, and at that meeting, he gets told that, oh yeah, he's not invited to the cocktail party because he's the main speaker, and Governor Stanton does not take that well on the drive back. It has a super fucking outburst, throws his cell phone out the window, and it has one of the most fantastic lines. You wouldn't have found the phone if I hadn't thrown it. It's very funny for me, at least. And then once again, has another juxtaposition. Maybe half a scene later, he is calling Charlie in his room and saying, and basically saying, "Hey, you think you can get yourself laid? I mean, I'm sorry about everything earlier today. I was just really high strung. I mean, I just need you at your perfect. I need you at your top." Or Henry, not Charlie. Sorry. I need you at your perfect. Need you at your top. And it's again one of those things where he just seems to have just absolute flip sides of him. I don't know if anyone else saw that. Nick?
Yeah, I can speak to that too. I thought that was a very weird, when he got agitated and screamed at everybody and threw the car, because that's the first time he really seems to come unhinged. And Henry, you can tell that it's tense when he's talking to Ozio's son at the diner, and he's just like, "Oh crap, I'm so gonna get it later." Like, how could you not have known that? He's like, "How would I have known that? I didn't know that until we just scheduled this meeting." Yeah, it is very out of left field, but then as we find later in the movie, like, it's kind of part of his charm, is that he does really care about trying to have the perfectly crafted image or to know who all these people are. He needs to have a Henry who knows that stuff. But even from the beginning, Henry seems reluctant to be fully in committed to this role.
I guess we haven't really talked about Henry at all. And going into this, Henry does not want to be part of this campaign. He's kind of looped around and almost he falls into the gravitational orbit of Governor Jack Stanton and just can't escape. He just can't get out. It's not actually that he wants to be there. And I didn't know if you guys found that interesting. And I found it super interesting, just the how some people have that strong of a personality. They could just drive you with them. You don't even mean to go. It just happens to be there. Tyler.
I get your point there. Right away, it just kind of felt like one of those standard, though, like movie tropes of like, oh, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. And then something comes along and changes the character's mind of like, yes, this is the real deal. This is who I put my faith in now to follow along with there. So
that's fair.
You described it really well, though, Steven. Just fell into his gravitational well, because, like, I didn't think he tried super hard to avoid it, but he also, like, was still trying, and, like, just, he would have had to try a lot harder to get away from that.
I think there's, like, even, it's, maybe we're 15, 20 minutes into the movie, there's still people saying, so what are you going to do on the campaign? He's like, I have not committed to the campaign, just continuously. I think after that, the next thing that really stood out in my mind was the introduction of Libby, who was...
Love her.
I find her a very fun character. And that also kind of the terrifying and real showing of what people think and still thought about women who had extramarital affairs with a showing of Libby. She is the dustbuster. She is going to go and she is going to wreck anyone that comes at her candidate. And in defense, Tyler.
Just for clarification here, Libby is Kathy Bates' character, right? Steven wouldn't know the answer to that question because...
No, I wouldn't actually.
Well,
everyone is making mind-blown things here, and
I still have my question. I'll hold it for how many people does Steven know from this movie? We can wait to the end.
But yes, I wrote down specifically to Kathy Bates is always a win. She just comes in just fuck like a storm, basically, of just energy into the movie and everything too. We're gonna do this, and this. You're coming with me.
And right before here, they also get the kind of maybe the conversation with Mrs. Stanton about how do we gently approach the fact that we think your wife or your husband has been fucking other women. And that's where we get the nice say you're taking a shit in the woods comment. And that entire debacle.
I was cringing. I don't even know where to, like...
It's so funny, though. They do it so well. I think they do it so well, at least.
I don't know who the people... Yeah, like, honestly, they turned me around because I was partially not listening at that point. Just be like, just get this over with already. Just pull the Band-Aid.
But I don't know.
I don't know. I actually thought that was it. I mean, the shitting in the woods was, I feel like, just kind of it could have been with or without that. It could have been a different metaphor. The fact that, like, they couldn't convince the wife's best friend to just, like, get the fuck out of the room. Like,
yeah,
I feel like with all of that, like, energy, be like, well, anything you can share with her, you can share with me. Like, based on the character Billy Bob Thornton, and he would just say, like, okay, that's all good. Now get the fuck out of the room. Like, why didn't he just say, get the fuck out of the room? Like, that was all I could think is, like, we know what's going to happen. And in this situation, you just tell this person to get the fuck out of the room. Like, you don't like, oh, well, she can hear it. No, she can't hear it. Like, tell her to get the fuck out of the room.
She can't hear it, but at the end of the day, they work for her. Susan's in charge.
But I still feel like, and maybe it comes down to, like, all these staffers, like, knowing that there's bad things happening, but not ever telling her. But I still feel like in that situation, in order to get complete candor, you have to not have other people in the room.
Oh, of course. 100%. That's the tension that they're trying to build in the scene, I believe.
But I don't know. The shitting in the woods was interesting, but, like, the entire time I was just like, just tell the other lady to get the fuck out of the room, and then you could just shoot straight.
I think they weren't going to be able to say it straight anyway. Honestly, they were making such a disaster of that. I was just like, look, obviously the woman has had to put up with some stuff. So I feel like if you can't spit the words out, yeah, it's a tough job. I do not envy them, but there's no way they haven't had to do much worse in a campaign.
Yeah.
Well, also later on, when you get the Kathy Bates's like arc kind of gets to an end where like you realize that Mrs. Stanton is also morally corrupt.
Oh yeah.
Like you get to the point where you're like, oh well, she's very portrayed to be very much like the victim, and then you're like, oh no, like she's a political serpent too. Like she's just a different type of political serpent.
I want to come back to that maybe later. I don't know if I'd call her corrupt or not. I think that as we go through the movie, I think that I'm not even sure manic. I think, like I said, maybe we can hit on that now. I think that there's a lot of people in this movie who, as I said before, are willing to sacrifice everything for the idea that it's what Henry himself says. Are you willing to support a candidate who is pure and good and says all the right things and never does anything, never gets any shit done? Or do you want to hop into the bed with someone who is going to be a kind of a piece of shit, but gets shit done and actually makes things better? And that's what I think a lot of these people in this campaign's idea is that they're not necessarily corrupt, but they're realistic. And realistic we can talk about exactly what that means here, but they are willing to overlook glaring flaws. I mean, flaws is maybe a too light a word for it, but they're able to overlook glaring issues with their candidate because he has the power to get things done. He has the personality to get things done. And does that make you corrupt, or does that make you like what does that make you?
I would like to think there needs to be a little more yin and yang in any relationship. Like the Mr. Stanton being like a philanderer and an asshole, like doesn't hit as hard until you realize that like not only has his wife accepted this, but his wife is willing to like shovel shit on someone else just for her own just for his own benefit or her own benefit, I guess technically too. Like she benefits from like high waters raises all ships. Like so she has a benefit to his success.
And to some extent it could be that like it's a sunken cost thing where it's like she's already put up with all these other tragedies and traumas so far, and so like why, if it's all going to go down the drain now, what was it all for? So might as well go the extra mile. And I do think that maybe the movie has a small failing point here that and maybe it's not the failing point, maybe it's intended, but like things like Picker's rise later in the movie, he seems like a potential legitimate true believer candidate. Like he's got these things that like he seems to have good policy ideas. He seems to have a real way about him. And for whatever reason, these professionals are still just at the point of like, well, this is my guy. I'm just going to try and just do what I can to get my guy winning. But it doesn't really drive home the point that like, if we're finding the dirt on this guy to say that he's, no longer fit to be candidate, our guy has much worse dirt. So what really is like, it has these moments of like, we have to find the dirt to bring this guy down, but it doesn't really show like what the better part of Stanton is to me. Like it doesn't show that Stanton is necessarily a better alternative to Picker for the good that he can do.
I think that's exactly what in Act 3 kind of Libby Stanton says, right? Or Libby says is that she's not there to take down other candidates. She's there to defend her candidate. And it is all the moral difference in the world, whether you are attacking someone else who is fundamentally a good person and just has one or two issues, which is why she can, back Stanton, or if you're taking them down for good reasons because they are actually a piece of junk. And I think that is what leads to the end of that, I guess, act. shall we say. It's complicated, but I mean, I guess one of the other. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say the whole thing has a lot of bigger themes. I'm full of disclosure. I watched it this morning, so I almost wish I feel bad because there's a lot of things that I mentally need to process more over time to try and formulate some harder thoughts on, because it is such a complex thing, as all politics really are if you get down to it. But the merits of good versus bad when it comes to these people that are supposed to represent thousands, millions, and the way that the media landscape affects everything as well. There's a lot of great quotes about the media. The media doesn't care about there's quotes about it.
And go fuck yourself.
Yes, the media giveth go fuck yourself. Yep. Guilty is what's interesting is another good one about the media, and just like little things like the media. After they refute the phone call tape from whatever her name is, the hairdresser, Cashmere. Yes, Cashmere McLeod. Then like the next thing that they see on TV is Bill Maher just still making jokes about the situation as if it had never happened, and it's just like the media just does not care and is going to keep dragging you through the mud because that's what sells. There's so much good stuff that really highlights that, like. There's a later point that in the Libby conversation at the end of Act 3, they're saying, like, if you make everything clean, then your ideas win just because they're the better ideas. And that is a great concept, and I think that's what probably like teen political ideologies always want the world to be. But it's one of those things that even if the candidates choose to do that, the public won't let that happen. The public is too thirsty for the latest gossipy entertainment and the latest ratings hike trash, and it's just never going to be the world we're in, I think.
Unfortunately, information bubbles only make that substantially worse. I agree with everything you said there. One of the things that it did, that this movie did kind of, I don't know, bring to me as I was watching it that I don't really remember from my first watch was how much kind of, I'd say, sexism is involved and how much incredibly dismissiveness towards women. Billy Bob Thornton shows his dick to one of the chicks, and she comes with congrats to her, I guess. She comes with a fantastic line of, "I've never seen one so old," and it's funny. It's funny, but like, could you imagine that? That's not a sexual harassment lawsuit. That's sexual harassment.
Yeah, I thought he was done then.
No, not
I
at
was
all.
sitting there the rest of the time, and I'm like, "How are you not?" Yeah, I was like,
"This was the '90s.
Yeah,
like that's
nice.
that's just how you introduced yourself to your coworker."
This was the era of Kaji.
Yeah, the era of Kaji. Well, I mean, even so, I think at one point Henry, and I'm not going to remember her name, but the other person that's a trio of Billy Bob Thornton, Henry, and the I don't remember the woman's name. They're lying there, and
Daisy.
She's actually
Daisy.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's actually the
Maura
one that
Tierney.
she's actually the one that says, they say Hitler never even looked at a woman after von Braun. Does that make him better than Stanton? Like, oh, holy crap! That is a psychotic way of defending your political candidate. Holy shit!
Yep. Full bar.
And so it's
pretty good.
There's a lot of different homages to just how little it matters, and I think it's I had the quote in here, but I don't see it right now. I apologize but it's something to the extent of it's never the cheater that has the issues. It's always the cheated on is the one that has the issues. And this just goes to show throughout this entire show, the cheater never has, he has to deal with it, I guess. He has to deal with the consequences of his own actions, but he's never the one that actually has the consequences. All those women are, regardless of even whether they're trying to play it up for their own benefit, and there's maybe one that does it, they're drugged through horrible situations just because of that. So it was kind of brutal there. But next we got to the amazing scene that JC and I were talking about, where and this is after Kashmir has come out and everyone's freaking out, and Mrs. Stan saying he did not cheat on blah blah blah, and then it cuts to a scene that looks like a painting, like a 1980s or a 1920s painting of just a Krispy Kreme open in the middle of the night. Just
I'm pretty sure that's in a horror game or two like that, when you just got that kind of store like that. It looks like a horror movie. I still want a Krispy Kreme, but then
I was shocked rewatching this and actually seeing that scene. I'm like, this is going on a really long time, and like in the end, it has the nice overtone of, oh, he's getting to know this guy who has always been, hurt his entire life, and he really wants to help this guy. But the lead into that scene is so weird.
I can't remember. Was it they were talking about like the strategy to refute things at that point, or I can't remember. Wow. But it just like it all fades out, and like Henry's just staring out the window, just like he's in a complete trance. Like I really thought it was gonna be some sort of weird dream moment or something where, he would just, the doors would open and he would just come floating in like a Christ figure or something, and it's just like, nope, he's just gonna walk in there normally because Stanton and Danny, whoever, are sitting there chilling, and then you see Danny and the crew the rest of the movie. But
yeah. But I mean, that Kashmir thing does end fairly quickly with the revelation that they had cut tapes, cell phone tapes, which, man, I am glad I didn't grow up in the era of, oh, don't use your cell phone. They can get your stuff and, use it for blah, blah, blah. No, I just have to live in, AI generated scenes of everything happening. So it's much better for us.
I like that. Libby, you're on a cell phone.
Oh, shit. But I loved him, the remembering of the idea happening, but I also loved her, Libby, actually breaking into the guy's place and threatening him. Oh, he had no idea I was going to do this. That was just...
Yeah, I will admit I was laughing during that scene and wondering if I was a bad person or not. But Kathy Bates, is just such an amazing actress that I was like, this could not have been done any other way. He has no idea what I'm going to do. He had no idea.
He's as surprised as you are.
It was still so early on in getting to know who Libby was that I wasn't quite sure if this is like a progression of her character, or is this meant to be something she's way out on a limb, or this is just another Tuesday for her. This is really interesting to see. She's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Just like fully committed. And Henry's just against the wall like, okay.
And she takes a swig from her flask before she starts that entire thing. I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but like she preps herself, and I just love the phrase as she's pointing the gun at his dick. I am what is it? I am a lesbian woman. I do not fantasize, or I do not what is it? Fetishize the male piece. I will blow a hole right here. Funny as hell. Now, Kathy Bates is a fantastic actress that I don't know her name and only know her from here. Anyways,
I'm impressed you know her name, though.
I do now.
It's only because we've said it, I'm sure.
Right, just right in front of him. I will admit to not realizing how many well-known actors and actresses are in here, and I was IMDbing several of them while watching the show, which I could tell was irritating Steven because he wanted me to focus, but I'm capable of focusing and searching IMDb at the same time. I finally figured out where Pickard, or whatever his name was from. He was from I Dream of Jeannie, so I figured that one out.
Sure.
I see that look, Steven.
Yeah, that's all right. Anyways, that gets taken care of pretty quickly, and then we move on to just because they go on to Larry King and just show that, hey, you can just cut everything. I don't know.
Okay,
did you guys ever have
Kathy Bates? This is I always my lightning rod for Kathy Bates is always the Water Boy, and I'm surprised that Steven never seen the Water Boy.
May have.
Oh my goodness.
I am going to get paled here. I thought it was a really stupid movie when I remember watching it, so I just
I mean, yes, but
that's fair.
At the time that it came out, that was also funny for us at that age, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But you were also teen political, so who can say? Maybe it was you're like, oh, I don't have time for this.
This common movie politically saying about us. No, sorry, that was all. We can continue.
I was going to mention. Sorry, go ahead. On the 60 minutes bit, I forget where that is in the story arc as well. But it's Daisy, isn't it? Is the gal who goes in and talks and shows that you can play the recording. She was one of those characters too that always kind of caught my attention because she's kind of on the periphery, but yeah, she's like laying on the bed talking to Henry, and this is like these people again. I have several notes about how the movie is just showing everything happen in this weird sort of haze. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, vignette, this is going on. By the way, oh, by the way, those two people that you met once, they're here now. There's a scene where Henry wakes up shirtless next to Daisy, and they're a couple. And that came out of nowhere for me. I was like,
they're not a couple, Nick. They're a
situationship.
Companionship. Thank you, JC. They are a relationship based on convenience. They're a situationship.
Well, they had the comment. They had the comment towards the end. I don't know what that word means, but they had
Steven
a comment
isn't with it like we are, Gary.
Right. They had a comment towards the end where they're like, should we just run away and see if this is a thing worth pursuing or something like that? Like, they're just in the moment. But it's like, Henry started out as this like idealistic, amateur politician, aspiring politician to look for something that's pure. And now, like, wasn't he with the other girl who was like at his apartment when they first got together? And she just sort of like drops off, and now he's with this other girl. Just like that seemed like it came out of nowhere.
That other girl shit on him, and she was over with. She's old news.
As soon as I saw him lying down with Daisy, I was like, oh, I guess that relationship wasn't getting fixed. I'll write that trope off now.
Even that, just the acknowledgement that like this is done, and now he's here. Like, I guess in my mind's eye, I would have loved to have seen a scene where like he sits down with Daisy and they just like start talking about something politics. You can feel the tension. And then they like kiss or something to show that had occurred, because it seemed more laissez-faire to just like, oh, by the way, they're waking up next to each other, and then it's like, oh, okay.
I don't know. I actually kind of like that they did they didn't lead into it. This isn't a movie about like, oh, everyone's getting to love each other or whatnot. This is a movie about, hey, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. We're moving forward. Everything is very
there's no foreplay, dang it.
Professional. Yeah, it's we're fucking. Because, you know why we're fucking? Because we're horny. That's it. There's no love involved. Let's move on with a campaign now.
Yeah, to me, this seemed like it was very telegraphed. Another kind of like just movie trope of like, oh, these two people are probably going to get together here as part of this here. And whether it's Henry kind of dropping his morals or the relationship between him and the other gal just kind of deteriorating and stuff, or him being on the road and this being a situationship like JC had mentioned there. I kind of felt like this was coming. Go ahead, JC.
Yeah. And like, as in addition to it being situationship stuff, is more like, as Nick mentioned, laissez-faire. Like, I think that's their attitudes going into it. Like, it wasn't necessarily that it was presented in like it was a deep, meaningful relationship presented in a laissez-faire way. It was just something light for them. Like, as Stan mentioned, like, hey, what are the chances you can get laid? Well, there you go. That's just efficiency and staffing is what that is.
Yeah, here you go.
I just realized Steven's big words do not include situationship.
No, they do not. I have never heard of this thing.
Okay, I'm Googling is situationship in the dictionary. Hold on.
In the dictionary? If it's so, it's add this year.
I don't believe that it was meant to be anything deep. Like, I don't think that they're falling in love on any level. I guess it just seemed like it was, I don't know. It seemed to come out of nowhere. I was on board with it once it happened, because yeah, they're two consenting adults in this crazy, they have a shared experience of what's going on around them. They're trying to, they've got their urges or whatever you want to say, but it just seemed like the progression of storytelling to get us to that point between those two characters seemed out of nowhere. I think Henry seemed lost, like he didn't want to be part of the part of the campaign. He was kind of trying to keep up with the busyness of what Jack was putting him through and kind of try to hide some of what he was beginning to learn about Jack from Susan. And then just, oh, by the way, he had time for this. And it's like, what, when, how, what? That was all.
My only other question to that would be, I mean, this is a 2-hour, 30-minute movie. Do you think they had time to include that? Like, are we going to put in them schmoozing in a little bar and then making out? And I don't know.
Dear listener, situationship is recognized by the Collins Dictionary, Cambridge Dictionary, and the Merriam-Webster slang section. So it is a word in the dictionary. So
Gary got that from
Steven's
AI.
fail
He
on
didn't
big
actually
words.
look them up. I'm not going to accept that until Gary finds them in the actual dictionaries themselves.
Right, slightly further down on it is Webster.
I saw you, JC.
Merriam-Webster link. There's a Merriam-Webster
looking for a
link.
dictionary over there.
Well, I was like, where's my Garner's Modern English language? But also, I think that's 4 or 5 years old now at this point, so it probably isn't in there at all.
Slang. I just want to point that out. Anyways.
I just sent Steven the link to Merriam-Webster.
Slang.
Merriam-Webster's Urban Dictionary.
There you go.
I've got one last point on Moira Tierney, who played Daisy. I actually recognized her from the mom in Liar Liar first.
Okay, that was one of the ones I spent so long trying to figure out. I'm like, I recognize her face, but then I was going through IMDb and I was like, I recognize Liar Liar, but I swear to God, there's something else and I could not place it. Yeah, but I never watched that one.
Who the fuck watched ER in this group here?
It was on from 99 to 2009. I
Again,
watched ER.
Who watched ER in this group here? You can quote me how many episodes there were, how long it was on TV, when it was on TV, but again, who watched it out of this group?
Medical dramas. That's Gary's MO. He knows medical dramas.
And Billy Bob, I kept thinking he looked so familiar, Steven. I thought he was from John Adams, but it turns out he's from Armageddon.
Yeah, all from the T-Mobile commercials.
Also Fargo.
I actually knew Billy Bob.
Man.
Goliath.
Emma Thompson.
Amazon Prime series. Anybody?
Emma Thompson obviously is just classic.
Stranger Than Fiction.
Crazy.
Oh, Bad Santa.
Wait, Stranger Than Fiction. That movie sounds familiar.
Who would have known?
The earliest Billy Bob Thornton reference that I have is he was in Tombstone and got slapped the crap out of by Patrick Swayze. Not Patrick Swayze. Kurt Russell. You gonna skin that smoke wagon or just stand there and bleed? You're welcome.
Billy Bob plays a good dirtbag.
Yes,
He does very well at
He puts a
dirtbagging
really
it up here.
good dirtbag.
Bad News Bears remake. Anyway,
I need you to whip your dick out in front of a staffer. Say no more, fam.
I will say the next scene that comes into this show actually was one that I have remembered, and I can almost I don't know what clicked in. This is the scene that stayed with me throughout my entire life after I've seen this. Was him talking to that union and talking about how you can't use the muscles here anymore. You need to use the muscles up here. And he points to his head, talking about his brain. And everyone's talking around. And one of the guys turns to Henry and goes, he lost him. And Henry, I did not even need to hear it in the thing, turns to him and goes, fuck him. He's got me. And I was like, for some reason, just stayed with me my entire life.
It's a very good scene. Yeah.
It's also very poignant on how he can just brush off some of the things about his sexual dalliances, as Gary has learned the word. Gary, I have been meaning to compliment you. Dalliances? That is a big word.
When did I say dalliances? I know the word, but I just did I black out?
You said it earlier.
Oh, wow.
Gary's medium-sized words.
Gary just goes into a fugue state every time he needs to come up with a big word.
That scene with the union.
Steel workers don't give a fuck about fucking around.
There you go. That union scene also featured him like coughing in a way at the start of the speech that like had me thinking like. Full disclosure, I had completely blacked out that this was a kind of about the Clintons. So I was like, how fictional does this get? And so like he starts coughing, and I'm like, is this like something where he's going to be like, oh, I've got cancer, and I'm gonna, whatever. I was like, what is this thing? And then Harris, like 2 scenes later, ends up coughing as well, and then that ends up being a heart attack. So I'm like, okay, now is he going to have a heart attack because he was coughing at the fish market thing? Anyway, so yeah. That was just a weird thing that stuck out. There. Conspiracy theory number 1. Jack Stanton died at the speech from a massive heart attack. The rest of the movie's all a dream, and he's replaced with a time clone.
I believe it. Krispy Kreme is him. The Krispy Kreme is him actually going to the pearly gates.
The Krispy Kreme is just like the train in Evangelion, where it's just like your psyche back in on itself.
I get some tinfoil and make a hat.
I really got to rewatch this now.
The next thing that actually is burned into my brain is the next scene as well. And this is where they are campaigning, and it's the preliminary votes are coming in. They show Jack Stanton still campaigning on, like, in the rain, out trying to get the last minute votes, it says. And for some reason that always stuck in my head as well. Like, wow, this is what you got to do if you want to do this sort of stuff. You got to write down to the wire. You can't, just pull up and go to some fancy thing. You have to be out there in the street. And that was a really kind of a formative moment for my, I guess, understanding of politics at the time. But also to note, that was a wrong scene. That is incorrect. So the first thing you see there is them saying that the polls have closed, and that someone has already, a percentage amount of vote, and they're projecting someone else to be Jack Stanton to be number 2. And then it goes to the next channel where he's still campaigning. Why would you still be campaigning if everyone has already voted? You can't pick up the last votes if they've already closed the polls. So that was incorrect.
I saw that also mentioned on the IMDb goofs section.
Good. And maybe just a more general question. One of the other things that Stanton is very against throughout this entire movie, except for one point, is he doesn't want to go negative. He is very aggressive about not going negative. And with everything we've learned about Stanton so far in a movie, my question to you guys was, when he made that decision, do you see that as an idealistic, I'm not going to go negative because that's not how a campaign should be run, because this is the right way to run a campaign on ideas? Or is it more of a calculation? He has skeletons in his closet, and he has more baggage than someone else. Oh, I think I
agree with Steven.
All right. Yeah, he does.
I think he probably has skeletons in his closet. Like, he's obviously a philanderer, and so as soon as you go negative, like, it doesn't, like, obviously all these tabloids were paying people to, like, tell their story about, like, that he's a cheater and a philanderer. Like, once you go negative about the other person, it's a lot harder for somebody who's willing to keep the secret to not want to sell you out if they're like, wow, that was kind of a dick move. Like why am I, well, if he's going to go so negative, why am I keeping silent? I think it just raises the cost, raises the value of dirt if you go negative. If you play clean, maybe nobody's as interested in your dirt.
I'm going to assume that Gary's not actually going to remember any of that answer because he started it with, he's obviously a philanderer, and went in a fugue state for the rest of the answer.
I don't. What was I talking about?
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way as you did, Gary. I think on the first watch of this movie, I think I might have believed he was a little bit more idealistic.
Altruistic?
Yeah, on rewatching it, I I just can't feel that way. I cannot feel that it was an idealistic decision.
I think it can be a bit of both.
Was it something about his background? Like he just believes a southern gentleman would never go dirty.
Probably. Yeah.
That's why you never hear JC insult anyone.
And your mother. To me, it's like I think that his character has got a bit of a almost a god complex sort of way, where it's like he really does think that he is better than others in such a way that he almost deserves more than others as well. It's like all of the extramarital affairs and stuff like that seem like things that once they come out, he's frustrated that this bad stuff is happening to him, and it's like, you did this, man. Like this is a classic sort of almost narcissistic behavior where it's
yep.
Everything is sort of like not your fault, even though it is clearly something that you did. So I think it can be a bit of both, that he thinks that he can run such a very altruistic campaign while not even considering that there are negatives to going dirty if someone chooses to return fire back at him, that he just really is thinking internally that it is something that he is such a better idea man that he can just run a clean campaign and have that extra chip on his shoulder at the end of it.
On a first watch through, I thought he was just altruistic. Like I didn't really consider the fact that there could be deeper meaning towards. I think it's a little bit of all of that. I do. I think he does realize there's skeletons in his closet, but like all of us, he wants to think well of himself. He is really good at feeling for others. He can feel so powerfully about these things, and that makes him want to be a good person, but it does show a certain naivety about his own flaws, because he doesn't seem to realize, like JC said, he's bringing this on himself. He makes that comment at one point in the bathroom, like, why I can't catch a break, and I'm like, but you, what do you mean you can't catch a break? Just don't sleep around. That's not something that accidentally.
What are you doing?
Yeah, that didn't accidentally happen to you. And never does he seem to connect his actions. Like he's still, I bet you at the very end, like even though he gives Henry that little speech at the end about like needing, he clearly has overcome a little bit of it, but at the same time, I bet you he still thinks that he's like, oh, I'm not gonna. I bet you he'd talk himself into saying like, I'm not going negative. Like this was necessary for them to learn about it or something. Like, I think he's got conflicting sides of himself because he doesn't really want to see himself in that clear light. He can say he screwed up, but he's minimizing all the time as like, oh, it was a screw up. I didn't mean to do it. Then why are you still possibly sleeping around?
I really like the way JC put it, and the idea of a god complex and a narcissism there, that he honestly thinks that he is God's gift to man, and he is honestly the best thing for everyone else out there. And so if you're getting in his way, it's your fault. It's not, and like what Amanda was saying, it can't be someone else's, or it can't be his fault. It's someone else's fault. And it's it almost makes it a little column A, column B, like you were saying. I still think it's a little bit maybe more calculated, but I think you put it a very, very good way.
I was just going to add, yeah, nobody is the villain in their own story, right? He sees everything he's doing as, this is what I have to do. This is the next logical step. I'm not going to go down for this. I'm so close to achieving my goal. This is what has to happen. And I think that, yeah, he justifies it, that the ends justify the means for him.
And then it all comes back to bite him. Well, I mean, for the third time. One of the guys that they visit early on in the movie, whose name I'm going to forget, but it was the dad of
Willie.
the babysitter. Thank you.
Billy
comes to visit Henry and tells Henry, "Hey, my daughter's pregnant," and she says it's your guys. It's Jack Stanton's. And the scenes that leads up to are hard.
Hard.
Nick, go.
I had a hunch on this when he walks up to the diner for the first time and he's like, I got the perfect place to go to. And everybody's like, hey, Willie, hey, whatever Willie's wife is. And they're like saying hi to everybody. Jack's like over the top. Like he's shaking hands, the people at the counters. How's everybody going? How's it going? And the daughter walks out from the back room and he looks at her and gives her a look right off the bat. And that that pinged me right away. I was like, God. And then like it just faded off because we don't hear about it anymore. But the second Willie's dad comes back later, he's like, hey, can I talk to Jack? I was like, oh crap. I called that one. Whether or not it means anything to anyone, there's a thing you can tell in some of these scenes where he's messed around more than he has and more than he should have. And again, the truth, the great line about the truth is you can either bend to its will or live a lie. And like no matter how much he performs, he knows what happened there. And as the scene plays out later on, like even if he knew the baby wasn't his, like he still did the swap because he knows that he has been with her. And that was enough that it throws it off.
Speaking of Willie and Willie's daughter and that like news giving, does anyone find it slightly dated that he had to go to, like, there was a racial component to who he went to? I'm trying to be very careful on how I explain it. That he went to another black man rather than going to anyone else in the campaign, rather than going to the candidate's wife or another staffer. Like he specifically chose who he went to based on race. Like I think that's kind of dated, but
I guess I'm not sure it would be dated if you're being a white male, I have very strong opinions on this, and my strong opinions, I don't know, it feels like if you could be good friends with Jack Stan, but when your daughter comes out and says he's the baby daddy, you're not going to go to that person. Who are you going to go to next? I mean, even the staff themselves couldn't go to Mrs. Stanton directly and, say, hey, this is what's happening. They had to beat around a bush. Who else do you go to? And it's going to be the person who you have the
I don't know.
most
Maybe it's
faith
because
in.
he's obviously a parent, like he's still an outsider the first time he meets him. Like he's not an insider he's not in Jack Stanton's sphere already. He's like contemplating joining the campaign. So maybe that's why you go to him.
Well, I think it is a racial component. I do think it is just, I mean, if you're going to go to someone in a group of people who are entirely not your race, except for one person who happens to be your same race, it doesn't matter if it's right, but you might see a little bit more kinship with them, a little bit more fellowship. Maybe they'll see your way a little bit more. You might have shared something. Like I say, I'm a white male talking about non-white.
Yeah, as I said, I don't want to dig too deep in this, but it is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, he just said it was who he was comfortable with, and I can't blame him for not going straight to. A governor is a powerful person, even if he's your friend, especially if you're giving him bad news in a presidential campaign.
Difficult news, right? Yeah.
But I mean, that difficult news gets even worse because it's and this is the really hard part of that is they go back to the barbecue place and they basically almost trick the dad into getting his daughter to do an amniocentesis, and all the while Henry is sitting there just smiling, backing him up, not saying a word, but backing him up nonetheless. And you see the dad looking to Henry like, hey, is this on the right? Is this on the good? And then getting the approval and driving away, and Henry has to get out of the car and vomit. And I don't feel bad for Henry at all at that point. It's like,
no,
dude, what the
that's
fuck did you just do?
I think a lot of this movie is the deterioration of Henry's character, and that scene was very, very pivotal. Here's your chance. Step up, say something. This person came to you with this news because there was a level of trust there, or implied like familiarity with, hey, help me out here. What should I do? How do I broach this with these people here that you seem to have an in with? And Henry does not do that any favors. Sorry, Amanda.
No, I would agree with that. Although it does make me wonder a teensy bit that the fact I get going to who you're comfortable with, especially like at this, but at the same time, his look of disappointment or his look of shock, I was like, hey, even if you went to someone you felt more comfortable with, you've supposedly known the governor for years, you clearly didn't think the reaction was going to be great for a complete shock like this.
I guess it's probably not even the reaction. He didn't. He thought that the governor would address him probably directly. He thought that the next feedback he would have gotten would have been different. Maybe like a, hey, can we just keep this on the down low? Like, let me cover the bills, and we're just gonna keep this between you and me, man to man. But instead, he sends a lawyer. Like, and that's just like maybe the small business owner not understanding like the stakes for just a Joe Schmo in a general community and someone who's a political figure or a national political figure. Steven?
I think it's a great scene of how people with big educations and refined educations can take advantage of people with those without educations. I mean,
100%.
we like to say, we like to say that, hey, it's an education, it's going to make you all better, but it also gives you the ability to take advantage of people that don't know what's going on. And this is, it was hurt. It was painful to watch. And I remember it being painful to watch the first time. It was painful to watch the second time. That didn't change. If anything, it got worse. And it was, I don't know.
It was uncomfortable.
Being another juxtaposition in the movie of like it starts off that he's a very strong proponent for adult education and being lifelong learners and always improving, and then here he is basically taking advantage in someone who's not as well educated by sending the highfalutin lawyer to send him a bunch of amniocentesis fancy talk and just basically trick him.
I think that's a great point. I didn't even consider it. Well, they do move off that, and it is at least now it was said that, hey, the kid is not yours, and I don't have actual notes about when the talk show episode happens, so I apologize. I do not have that on here at all, unfortunately. The next thing I have, and so in between here, it must have happened that Governor Stanton goes on to a talk show and gets quote unquote ambushed by the other candidate calling in and basically fighting back on, I think, well-deserved Governor Stanton's attack on, and I'm going to forget the senator's name for the life of me.
Harris.
Thank you, Governor Harris. Fighting back on Governor Stanton's claims that Harris is going to be doing all this bad stuff without actually saying any of it. If you go back to that scene, he does an amazing job of never actually saying what bad things Senator Harris is going to do. He just implies, oh, you're going to take a look at Social Security. He's going to take away your Social Security. And Harris tries to call him on it and has a heart attack on the phone with him. It was, I think out of everything that you could say is a TV moment or a movie moment, I think that is the movie moment for me in this show. But yeah, I guess that brings us to the next person that's going to be running up, and again, I'm going to forget his name as well. But the former governor of Florida, I want to say, and Fred Picker, thank you, and how everyone in the group was a picker person. And the next question is, hey, Libby, go find out what's wrong about Picker. And she gets to this idea about what's the difference between dust busting or defending your candidate or tearing down another good candidate. And we kind of touched on that a little earlier. And I wanted to ask you guys, do you believe Libby's line there? Is there all the moral difference in the world between defending your candidate and attacking another candidate?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
No. I just want to be a contrarian.
Just a contrarian. As somebody who usually tries to look on the bright side and is probably more optimistic than their own good, yeah, it makes all the difference in the world. I think that shows not just your intent, but the level of your character, the conviction of your character, and where you draw the line, doing what's good, not just when the cameras are on you and you're doing those performances and those union talks, but behind closed doors too. Like Libby has that whole scene in the car where she's talking to Henry and she's like, "We're off the beaten path here. This is no man's land." Like it's just reiterating. They're great, but it highlights how this is unprecedented. Like the people. Again, we can talk about what happens to Libby, end of her arc, like you said, in that act. But what happens when the people you've put your faith in show you who they really are, and they're not who you thought they were going to be?
And I guess one of the things that made me just wonder about this, maybe on this watch, was how Libby is defending someone who she knows has all these major issues, but feels like is a relatively good person. And then I don't know. It's almost a Stanton's argument of if by defending their candidate, is she not just putting everyone else in a worse position? And like by not bringing this stuff up, by not actually letting them know, hey, Pickering has huge flaws. Pickering's going to get this party crushed. So that's I don't know. Gary.
I was going to say like it's unfortunately if you've ever watched political primaries, it's us versus them. So Libby has to pick a side, and if she's deciding to be neutral, then she's no longer an operative of the campaign. She's an outsider. So by being involved in the campaign, she has to pick a side, and she has to pick Stanton's side. What she does with the information, she doesn't feel like is inflammatory, but ultimately it's her prerogative, and she got that information as to how it's going to be used. Like, she could have just not told anyone. Like, that was the only choice. Like, I feel like if you've gone that far, you've already invested enough. You're going to use the information in one way or another. Like, so I feel like if there's no second place, so you're playing to win. So there may be a line in the sand, but ultimately the line in the sand only matters if you want to lose. JC?
Yeah. I think the distinction that I draw where it's more morally right is to just be the one acting in defense all the time. If you're out there going on the offensive and finding dirt and then just choosing not to release it, I think that's a far closer, more morally gray area to then digging up all the dirt, not releasing it versus releasing it. In a defensive capacity, it is that thing of defending your candidate that you, even if you know there are some flaws going on there, you are able to then, it's a defense lawyer thing too of like, this is, I believe my client is innocent of this specific act. I can vouch for the other qualities they may have or the other potential crimes they may have committed. I'm solely focusing on this act. And in that sense, it is something that I think is morally almost justified, especially in the common media landscape like that we have now, where it can so rapidly snowball out of control that you need someone to be backing you up in situations like that, I feel like. Shotzi?
I kind of wonder if this too falls into just being a little bit too close to the sun or just blinded by the light. Like obviously it's Libby, right? That's Kathy Bates' character.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. She's known these people for so long or whatever that she can't quite herself see past the negative aspects of them and everything like that. And then everyone, when you pick your candidate and everything like that, as we kind of see in today's world, unfortunately, like you're willing to accept some of the bad or the bad stuff because they're your guy. You believe they are going to get stuff done for you that you want done. So you just eventually just become blinded by a lot of everything that goes on. And then you get shown, oh over and over again, they're a bad person, until you stop and step aside, like Libby kind of did there, and realize, oh, they're a bad person. They aren't who I think they are anymore. You don't really wake up to the problem there. Gary?
I feel like the other issue is that they came to the solution that would have been like more acceptable too late, which was like, hey, if you know this information, you can either release it or not release it, or you can trade it. And I feel like that would have been the morally straight line, in my opinion, which like, just don't wait for Kathy Bates to have a meltdown. Be like, hey, we have this, but we're not going to use it, but we're going to trade it for all of this like philandering shit not coming up from our opponent. Like, that's our line. Like, just trade it. And maybe that's not the right way politics are done, but I feel like you just trade it. You have to assume that both candidates are playing a game versus the media. So you could just trade that information and be like, okay, so this is the dirt I have. What dirt do you have? Let's just not talk about this dirt, and we'll move forward and let somebody else decide.
Well, I will note, this is the only time the Republicans are actually mentioned in the entire movie is during this kind of thought process, and that is the it doesn't matter if we get it because we are the Democrats. It matters that after we don't get it, the Republicans will get it. And therefore, you can do all the trading you want internally for the Democratic primary. But we got to remember, you're just running in the primary. You're not even running in the general yet. And so maybe there was a better way that they could have handled that. But it was like Libby ended up saying, it was a test. And she was going to give them the information regardless, but they failed the test. And I did want to, without maybe going into... I've been narrating a couple of these different questions, and I don't want to narrate this one. What do you guys feel about the end scene for Libby, and the end, I guess, how it leads up to that, finding the information, the confrontation with the Stantons, and then how it all ends? How does it impacts me? It impacted me a lot. For me, it brought out how Machiavellian would be the word I would use the Stantons could be, that they were willing to, they're not idealists, they are realists, and that is like I said, the thesis of this movie. And you get down to it, you're not running idealistic candidates, you're running realistic candidates, and they're willing to do what it takes to win, and that's what they're going to do.
I feel like as the character, I think she always thought the juice was worth the squeeze, and she had a conflict, and she did not get the outcome she expected. And so I think that sort of rocked her world of like, if she's been doing this for however many years, and this is her identity, is like being the dustbuster, and then she's like, oh, well, it turns out like I can do this because I thought I was making the world a better place, but in fact, I'm the dirt. I'm the one spreading the dirt. Like, so I feel like it's just identity dilemma. There's probably a better word for that. A
crisis.
A crisis of character.
That's the one.
I love that you just did that. That was amazing.
What did you just
do? I believe normally called identity crisis because you said identity dilemma. And then you're like, oh yes, crisis of character.
Identity dilemma. It was amazing.
I feel like it was one of those scenes that whenever I mentioned like a rushed sort of back half, I feel like their scenes, specifically Libby's final scenes in the truck, were felt very rushed and very like, oh, suddenly we're just having like caricature moments of like weird poetry stuff, and it's like all the stuff about the moon and how it's tarnished and far away, it doesn't connect to anybody actually, and then like, oh, do you know how to get out of here? Only 2 ways to go from here. And Henry's like, okay, then I guess you got the directions. See you later. And it's like, Henry, what are you doing? She's clearly going to kill herself. And then sure enough, yes, the 30 seconds later, we realized that's exactly what she did.
I I blinders on, didn't see that coming.
You
didn't see that coming?
No, I didn't either, honestly. I thought it was like she was drunk, and I was like, so at first I thought, I was like, because look at that road, by the way. This road on the top of
It's
a
a
thing, I was like,
road.
well, that's a terrible safety design right there. And then I was shocked to see the gun. Like I thought it was pretty shocking to me.
I saw that
Like
coming.
I saw
her.
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. I was just to say it totally seemed like a swan song. There's only two ways to go from here, and you know how to take care of yourself, right, Henry? Like you don't need me anymore. I've found out the answers to the questions I had burning in my mind. Are my rocks really worth leaning on? And all right, literally rides off into the twilight. It's traumatizing to see because she was such a firebrand for the Stantons, but it was it's disheartening. Again, it's like the movie keeps showing high aspirations and the heights that these people aspire to when they're connecting with others and showing they care for the little man, and then showing the underbelly of some of these scenes as really raw and intense.
So I had the thought enter my mind, and it was just, again, political intrigue movie and stuff like that. Is like, well, did she really kill herself, or was she taken care of by the Stanton campaign there? Which is, I think, a little too dark for where this movie was going and
Oh my
everything like
gosh.
that. But it came
House
into
of
my
Cards.
mind there. And I also, too, I didn't think she was going to kill herself there at the end. I was like, okay, her time in the movie is done. She is leaving the campaign and going to enjoy her life. She has woken up. Gary.
Okay. Suicide is never the option, never good, sad. Anyway, when you guys were talking about it,
Gary's
I
prefacing suicide's never
realized
good.
that she doubled her impact, which is that she not only was found dead, shot in the car, she did it at high speeds. She hit a telephone pole too, didn't she? Like she was doing that at high speeds and ran to a telephone pole, I think. Did she not?
I thought it was just like that she had kind of drove off to the edge and then just kind of like parked down at the edge. But I could be wrong.
That's kind of what I think as well. I don't remember entirely.
Yeah, at first blush, I was like, oh, she went and crashed into something. But then as they like went in, I didn't recall seeing any like major crash.
Maybe it was wreckage. A visual gag to make you think initially that she ran into a telephone pole.
What a gag.
Oh, boy. Yeah, not the right word. Sorry.
Yeah.
I will say, when I first watched this movie when I was in high school, it shocked me. I was not prepared for that either. We were not how I thought that was going to end. I did think she was drunk as well. I remember thinking that she was drunk, and then not entirely. Obviously, my AP government teacher didn't dwell on that scene very much, so did not get a lot of closure. But I do remember going, oh, wow, she died. She's obviously, I wasn't entirely sure how it happened because we flipped past that scene. But coming back to it now, and maybe this is a hindsight thing, but JC, I could see it. All the signs were there, unfortunately. And it was, I don't know, maybe if it's because this is a political movie. Tyler, you said that thing about assassination, and all I could think about is that is exactly what people would think in like a real political world. Like, I don't think that's a bad assumption to come to at all, because that's unfortunately what the political world would think. Some people would think. So,
okay,
Gary?
Moving forward, is anyone else find the juxtaposition that he was the one giving the eulogy for her was like very poignant, of like he's the one who drove her to her end, and he's the like, and to the public, like he's the hero of this story.
Yeah, and that's he even makes the joke. He says, "Jack, I'm so fucking disappointed in you," and everyone laughs. And you know who doesn't laugh? Henry. Henry does not fucking laugh, because that is, yeah, she's so fucking disappointed in you. She shot herself. That is what happened. Like, it's brutal.
Yeah.
Well, to kind of mention it, like that this is based off of a Clinton thing, and like knowing that there was a Clinton reference, I then later looked up and was like, okay, so who is Libby based off of, and did they actually die? And sure enough, it is based off of it's two people that represent from the Clinton campaign, and one of them did die from suicide in 1993 after the campaign, and so there of course were several conspiracy theories that emerged based on that person's suicide, and so yeah, there's plenty to go off of there. So if you want to conspiracy theory yourself into a rabbit hole.
And then I think we get to what I almost consider the epilogue of the movie, which is two scenes. The first scene being Jack Stanton and Henry going to give the information to Senator or former governor, whatever his name is, and the governor basically owning up to, oh my God, yep, this was all this and blah, blah, blah. I just don't want my son to know. And like during that conversation, you almost get the feeling like, holy shit, this guy is the real deal. He had a shitty moment 20 years ago, but this guy is like owning up to everything. And the only thing he cares about right now is that his sons might find out. And how does he describe it to his sons? Like, wow.
Which, for all like, I was thinking about the like sexism and stuff that was in this movie, and like how we've seen movies that we've been watching and other pieces of media where it's like things feel dated because they're trying to be presented in modern context. A lot of the stuff from this period felt of its time, including the fact that like the biggest thing that Picker's worried about is that his sons find out that he had gay sex. Like that's the thing. Like, oh yeah, I can like wild cocaine parties while I was governor and whatever, like that's fine, but don't let them know about whatever his name is. Like that's the thing that they can't know.
Yeah, as the time of Dome.
Renzo.
Yes, Renzo. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even catch I obviously wasn't paying attention. I didn't catch the gay sex thing. I just like cocaine. He did some cocaine and shit happened. That's all I got out of the whole thing.
That's not wrong.
That's not wrong.
Depends on.
It's not the whole story.
I really liked
the
the context of that conversation too. How again Picker owned up to everything and said, I thought that I could do whatever because of the cocaine. I wasn't getting caught. So then when Renzo asked this of me, I thought sure, because it was the next like progression of step. It just shows what a slippery slope, how enticing those types of I can't think of the right word, but just like when you're not caught doing the thing that's dangerous, it's almost more enticing to keep doing it or see what else you can get away with, especially if you're in a position of power like a governorship or if you're running for a candidate. You feel untouchable, I would imagine. It was interesting. That's really interesting to think of it in the context too. That's good insight.
No, then they begin that walk down the long road to the end of the movie, and one of the things that happens, and this is a question that I don't think has an answer, and so I want to get your guys' opinion on it. Stanton turns to Henry and says, I need you back on the campaign. I need you on this campaign. What do you want me to do? Get down on my knees? And he really does also say that, hey, I would have done this regardless. Yeah, I am a son of a bitch, but I am the son of a bitch that can actually do it. Like, you got to believe in me for that. And my thought was, why does he want Henry back on the campaign? Does he honestly, and this is maybe the juxtaposition too, does he honestly believe that Henry is the best guy for his campaign? Or does Henry just know where all the bodies are buried now, and you need to have him on the campaign?
Both. Like, he does want him, and he's capable of convincing himself that very strongly. But there's always that you can want things for more than one reason and know that it's good policy just to keep him on your side.
I agree with that.
And I hadn't fully fleshed out the concept of Stanton as a narcissist before, but that would also be in line with that of just like it's a travesty to turn a narcissist down, and so no, you can't leave. Like that's not the acceptable solution here. You need to stay in my orbit because the best thing that you can do is keep telling me how great I am and stay near me. Mm-hmm. And if you leave me, then that's you refuting me, and that's the worst thing possible.
very last scene then. It is the inauguration. You see, obviously, Stanton has won the presidency, going around each person, and this is my question for you guys. Did Henry work for Stanton after that? Do you think so?
Yeah. I feel like it was a fail of an ending.
Yeah.
Like,
wow.
I did not want to see him there. I was really hoping that it would show that he's not there.
You got this roller coaster ride of like, he's like, I don't know if I want to do this. Okay, well now I kind of think he's a good guy. I think he's what the country needs. And it's like, oh, well, he's got some skeletons in his closet. Okay. And then it's like, he just like had one of his good friends that he's known for years, like just like implode because of what he was doing and feels no consequences for that. And he says several times, like, I can't do it. And it's like, it turns out he has no willpower. Isn't that funny? That's the moral of the story. Like, the main character has no willpower. Amanda.
Watching through the movie, my answer would have been a hard no. Like, he was immovable, he was implacable. The entire, like, begging you, like, you can't go, you have to stay here, didn't just go on for like a couple seconds. It kept going on to the point I was like, oh my god, like, he's not going to change his mind. But after the movie, thinking ahead to what Steven might ask and realizing that was the question, because I was like, no, he was there to wish him good luck, but it also echoed the beginning of the movie, showing the stuff, which in the beginning of the movie, we also saw Henry saying, no, absolutely not, implacable, I haven't decided what I'm doing, and still going along with it. So I honestly don't know anymore.
And I think the way that it's portrayed, one, is that, yeah, it's going through and it's just literally panning through other people that were in the campaign. So yes, he did go back and work for him. I don't think that it would be out of scene for it to be indicated that, like, oh, here's all these campaign people, and then Henry, who just was here and he decided to visit for the day. So yeah, I think it was that he went back to work for him. And I think there's a bit of a telling smile as well. Like, if anything, if I had to describe his smile in that scene, Henry's, I would say that it looks closest to whenever he's talking to Willie after finding out about the pregnancy there. It's there's a certain like deviousness to it. And I think that there is something to be said for like the willpower of Henry here, where it's not that he has no willpower. It's that, one, it's that realism versus idealism thing that let's say this is Bill Clinton to a T. This is 100% his story. One could argue that Bill Clinton had one of the better presidencies in the last 30, 40 years in terms of doing good things for this country, like the deficit, the things like that. There's a lot of very good things that happened there. So if that is your candidate, that's the realism coming through here. I mean, at some point, it just, whether you're able to bury those skeletons or not, it's back to his original question of like, do you work for the liar who's going to get shit done, or the person who's pure and not going to be able to do anything? Steven?
Let me throw a curveball for you guys then. One of the things that it shows in the very ending scene was the handshake with Henry. And if you remember back to the very first opening scene, they're talking about the different kinds of handshakes that he gives to every single person. The handshake that he gives to Henry at the very end is the same two-handed handshake, which I quote, he doesn't know you that well, but wants to share something emotional. If he stayed on the campaign, would he not know him that well? Or is he just sharing something emotional there?
I did think about that because I remembered that one specifically for the handshakes. But I was also like, well, he definitely knew him at the time. And presumably less than a year has gone by. I feel like they left it purposefully, ambiguous, so that you would wonder this. They put a lot of yes signs and a lot of no signs in there. Like, if they had him further off on his own, not next to the rest of the campaign staff, that would have been more of an indicator to me. But they put yeses and nos in there, and I can't even tell if maybe he left for a couple months and then changed his mind and came back.
I didn't I thought about the handshake thing and going back and watching it after I had already finished it. As far as the rest of the staff that he goes through, do those have handshakes that follow with the previous themes?
I don't believe so. I believe that he doesn't even really. I don't know if he actually shows all the handshakes he's doing with all of them. I think they're just getting the faces in, and hey, this is the campaign staff.
Sure. Cool.
But it's just, I agree with Amanda. I think it's very ambiguous. I'm not sure it says that he goes back to work for him. I think that there's a good argument to be made that if he's invited to the inauguration, those are the only people he might know there. Like he might, those are his friends that he made on the campaign. So yeah, he's going to hang out with them. I mean, that could be part of that, but it's ambiguous. Gary?
Conspiracy theory number 2. He's the vice president.
Oh.
That is a big
Prove me
swing.
wrong.
Yeah.
Can it be dissuaded?
I cannot. Was the entire movie a chance to pull Henry into being his vice president?
That was all that it was, the entire thing.
I need you. Let's go. Let's do this. I can't do this without you, Henry.
It was a Jack Ryan plot.
I would say in terms of just lost it. Sorry, pulled a Steven.
Oh, brutal.
Pull a Steven.
That's painful because it's true.
What were we talking about before the conspiracy theory? It threw me off.
How it's panning over all of the faces of the...
and
Oh yeah, because you mentioned that it's just the people he knows from the campaign, but it's like also we know from the Thanksgiving party that they have that has like 700 people that like he's been just like collating friends this entire lifetime to say like once I become president, you're my friends that get to come with me and ride up the coattails here. So I think if we're going to have a Jack Stanton inauguration ball, that's going to be those people get to come there as well, and you're going to have all of like the Dr. Beauregards and their ilks, rather than like, oh, this is the guy that worked for me for a few months and then quit.
Or he's the vice president. He's a grandson of a former civil rights leader.
Yes, that is always a grandson of a former civil rights leader has always been a very good, pedigree to get the presidency of the United States. They love civil rights leaders in the presidency of the United States.
The through line of like every Southern white person telling Henry that like, oh yeah, I remember working with your granddad. Like that's bullshit, right? They're just fucking with him like that. They're just like trying to toot their own horn. That was, to me, that's how it read. That like they were just like, oh yeah, no, I was there on the civil rights movement. Hey, I'm in the background of some photos.
To say that they were in the 90s, pretending that they were moderately progressive in the 70s and 80s.
Right. Yeah. That was my read. That like, oh yeah, I was a Southerner who was for
think about that,
the civil rights movement. Yes, of course.
100% true. That all those people are full of shit.
And I kind of feel like it's like John Lewis, right? Everyone, oh, I remember John Lewis. Oh, well, he was like, he marched with this. And, oh, I remember watching him do that. And you're talking about John Lewis to make yourself kind of feel empathy that, hey, I was there too. You weren't there, though. I mean, so I think that's what they're all trying to do is get credit for something they didn't do, like what you're saying.
Yeah. Also, who can prove it? Who the fuck can prove any of this? Unless you had a photo of yourself standing next to him, like no one knows is provable.
But and they made comments about him as a kid, like, and what little kid can like deny, like, oh yeah, absolutely, I totally did not see you there. No, but like, and then it's the same theme as wanting to think well about themselves too. Like maybe they believe, like, oh yeah, I saw this guy once from a distance. That definitely means I was for the civil rights movement.
Well, but that was the movie. Gary, my first question, I wrote this yesterday, by the way, was for you. So it's perfectly timed. What was the production? Was the production quality good enough, Gary?
I think it was terrible. It was a 90s movie. It is 1998, and what is his name? John Travolta flushed his career down the toilet in 2000. So it's 2 years before he flushed his career down the toilet. And then he's had a resurgence since then. But It's 1998 and Battlefield Earth was in 2000. So it was
Has-
like at the peak of like him being a name. Like he wasn't an A-list name anymore. He was, but he definitely flushed his name down the toilet.
Has he had a resurgence though?
I thought so, kind of.
He's in a credit card commercials now.
I was gonna say I looked at his IMDb, and the third item here is Capital One Quicksilver Holiday Night Fever, 8.1 stars. So
He's got
it's
that
well liked.
That nostalgia
That's a
factor's
movie?
working for him
I didn't
now.
know they put commercials
so.
in there.
Yeah, just
I
video.
I know he was in Grease, and I know he was in this. I couldn't tell you a single other movie John Travolta was in.
Swordfish.
Broken Arrow? No, not Broken Arrow?
Face Off.
Broken Arrow. Face Off. Face Off.
You're thinking Face Off. Was in Broken Arrow too with Christian Slater.
Frequency. That's
Phenomenon.
Taking
Oh,
the
yeah,
Pelham
Phenomenon.
1, 2, 3.
that's a
Michael.
good one.
Bolt.
Philadelphia.
The
Is it
cartoon
Philadelphia?
Bolt, apparently he was in.
He's the
in
voice of the
2008,
dog in
that
Bolt.
would be Wild Hogs.
The General's
Oh.
Daughter. That was the movie that he did after Primary Colors that I enjoyed it.
He
I
in
guess Thin
Austin
Red Line
Powers,
technically
the
released
Gold
after
Member.
Primary Colors.
Oh, Thin Red Line. Okay.
Hmm.
All right, Mike. Second question here for the after the movie things. So
He
this
in
movie
Basic.
was. Oh. This movie was 2 hours and 30 minutes long. Did it feel like that long of a movie to you guys?
Yes.
It is a long. That's a long time.
Yes.
Yes.
To be fair,
It went ongoing and it did not have like a conclusion that was like very like it didn't feel it wasn't a fulfilling ending. Like I didn't think I would like this movie, but I started to kind of like it and then it just like it hit expectations. Like, oh, maybe this movie's got something to say. Wham! Just about stupid politics and bullshit. Done. Okay.
Wow. Okay. Sure.
What did you think he was saying? Oh, maybe it's
I
not something.
don't-
It's just
genuinely
politics.
do not know how to react to that because this movie.
Well, I mean, was it going to be a political thriller like a Jack Ryan movie? No, it doesn't go anywhere.
No. Jack Ryan.
Not
What
enough
about this
giant
movie?
mechs. There were not enough giant mechs in this movie.
For real though. If we had some teens piloting mechs, like they had the kid Jackie, right? Like he could have been hopping in a giant mech.
Questioning
was
male
his mom.
loneliness and everything right
Jack
there.
Ryan-
in Max too.
Emma
Ryan
Thompson
was
as the
either-
giant mech. Yep.
Oh.
Anyway, sorry.
Anyway,
What
back
was
to
the
Steven's
original question there?
I thought
How
that the
did the movie
movie did
feel
not
like a
seem too
long
long.
movie?
Yeah,
Okay.
like I thought it was paced pretty well because I mean I felt like there were you mentioned there are certain acts to it, but I feel like there are definitely like moments of the race that as things keep going, it doesn't feel like the typical act structure in that sense if you're following it from political moment to political moment. And in that sense, like I didn't feel necessarily too long. I felt it was paced okay, except for the fact that like I said, some things kind of felt rushed in that sense. So the ending felt abrupt, despite the movie not feeling. I would have taken a 10-minute longer version, but probably not a 20-minute longer version.
I would agree with that. Like I felt the back half was rushed and it didn't. Where it ended, I did not expect it to end there. I thought there was another 10 minutes left or 20 minutes. I probably would get dealt with 20 minutes, honestly.
I thought it
Tyler?
did seem to take a little long. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Tyler.
I didn't think it was long, but there was definitely a point in the watching the movie. I'm like, how much time is left in this thing? This feels like it's been going on for a while now. But like, I don't think it was too long. But yeah, I mean, it could have gone a little longer, like JC said, to explain some stuff. But at the same time, I'm like, and it could have ended kind of somewhat a little sooner too.
I did have to juggle watching this movie slightly around my daughter, who has a problem with me doing anything like that without her. And her interruptions were, I don't like this movie.
Are there no yellow cars in this movie?
There
And
were no
Steven-
yellow cards in this movie.
Steven informed me that there was it was probably pretty safe from a visual standpoint for her to be listening to it, but from a language standpoint, we had to kind of.
Yeah, no, she was good from a visual standpoint to watch it, not to listen.
Yeah,
to it,
for an audio standpoint, there was a little bit of an issue. So like, I think she wasn't really paying attention but I kept pausing and then waiting and then pausing and then. So that can't tell how much of that really influenced my impression of how long the movie was. But I also don't know what they would have changed to make it shorter, because like you said, there are parts of it that feel a little bit rushed. So I wouldn't necessarily make it shorter. It's just some of the conversations went on for a little bit, and they needed that to make those impressions, but they still were a little bit long.
Well, the only other thing, I guess, two other questions here. I didn't realize this when I first watched the movie, but I did feel like actually this movie, for being from 1998, was pretty sexually and racially diverse.
Yeah.
All the other movies of this time are either whitewashed or entirely straight bent. This movie actually gives different people different points, and I don't think it necessarily either pigeonholes them either. Like, yeah, Libby's lesbian, and they make some alludes to it, but other than that, she's basically a normal crazy person.
She's a normal crazy person. The fact that she was a lesbian, I felt, was kind of shoehorned in to like keep her on the fringes of society. I had to look this up. This movie came out in 1997, and my like homosexuality chapter marker in the U.S. society was 97, when Ellen DeGeneres came out as a homosexual, not only in real life but also on television, which was a big deal in pop culture, that somebody on a primetime television show came out, a main character came out as being a homosexual. However, like, this was like a year later, so it wasn't culturally sensitive at all. Like, she's a crazy person, she's a homosexual, like, both of those are negative contexts. So I did not feel like that aged well.
I didn't think that the context of her being a lesbian was at all presented in a negative context. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that she remarks it first, I think, before anything else really, where she has the moment like, I'm a gay lesbian, I don't mythologize the penis, whatever. But then you have the moment where she's like, I need this staffer Jessica to help me with this thing, and then they're just like, all right, see ya, honey. And then like they're clearly, it's I think the same scene where Daisy and Henry wake up together, and then it like cuts to a call with them, and then like Jessica walks in her nightshirt out of the room behind Libby there, and it's like, oh, okay, so everyone's having fun here. But I don't think it's presented in a way of like it in the same sort of way of Daisy and Henry's thing. It's just almost a situationship of just like, hey, this is just working on this thing together, and here we are.
Yeah, I mean, it's not terrible, but in my context of time, I think like this was before people thought that was overplayed in movies. So
Sure.
There's only that character, and then maybe the governor. Apparently, I didn't even catch it that he had some sort of fling.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'll say, going through school in 2004 to 2008, I wouldn't say that it was necessarily accepted yet in any way, shape, or form before then. So there's still a lot of, I would say, negativity towards that. So just the representation of them as functioning people, I thought was, I don't know, I thought it was pretty significant.
I would agree with that for the time, for sure.
I had no idea about Ellen DeGeneres. You could have told me that whatever, I don't know. But
I don't know. Anyone other than Steven do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Like, I didn't watch the show, but I heard everyone's reactions and overreactions and freakouts about it.
I think there's, I don't know if historically it's in a context of larger society, but I feel like there was a more societally accepting of like towards lesbianism rather than gay homosexuality, like where it was almost shown in this movie where like, yeah, Libby is just presented as this is just who she is, and then the Fred Picker is presented as like, oh my god, this is this tragedy that like these people have found out that I had gay sex twice. Like, yeah, there's that within the movie. It's already this sort of juxtaposition of those two sides of things, and I feel like that in my memory at least lines up with that lesbianism was a little more acceptable in a larger sense.
Well, and then come to the coup de resistance question here. So obviously, like I said, the entire thesis of this movie and of the book was, what do you choose between ineffectual idealism and effectual realism? And if you were placed in Henry's place, and I'd like if you want to answer, you can answer. What would you choose? Would you choose to work for Stanton and get stuff done and work for a piece of shit, or not? Or would you vote for Stanton? Tyler?
Yes and yes. That's all I need. Next person.
Thanks, Gary. Anyways, there's a common theme of something I'm dealing with a lot at work, and it's not like a serious thing or whatever, but it's like the chase to perfection is often the death of basically progression there. And that is something I see the Democratic Party constantly fighting with itself in today's world, where everybody thinks they need this perfect, ideal, pure candidate out there that's going to change the fucking country here in just one fell swoop. And we're going to be this progressive, liberal bastion of freedom and excellence and everything like that. And it's not going to happen, because change does not come in an instance here in this world. Unfortunately, it's a slow, gradual progression of things there. With this kind of political sphere and everything like that, Stan is kind of somebody who, I mean, the way my personal view on politics is I kind of look at a lot of like, what do they say they are going to do? Like, what is their views and everything like that? And if I agree with them mostly on everything, they're probably going to be the person I'm going to vote for. I mean, currently now, like, the Republican Party is not the party I even want to consider voting for, because they view a lot of stuff in today's world as something I don't agree with. And the Democrats, for as much as they have their head up their ass most of the time, they still somewhat represent the values that I agree with. So going back to then, like, the movie here is like, Stanton is a flawed individual, and every person is a flawed individual out there. There is no one true free person. And I mean, would I vote for him? Yes. Would I feel good about voting for a guy who's a womanizer and everything like that? Probably not. But I mean, then again, what's the Republican candidate this time? I don't know. Nick, I think you were too there, or
I was originally. I was thinking, yeah, I would not vote for him. For me, it's the threat of scandal. Again, you wouldn't be able to find somebody perfect in any regard, but it's the stink of the scandals. It's like, even if they're false, the fact that they got as much traction as they did shows that there's something to them, right? They might not be as terrible as they were originally perceived, but you would want at least someone who's meant to represent the best of us, right? That's the tagline. That you would want someone who's got at least a little bit more character. Again, as aforementioned, I'm more of the sunshine and rainbows optimist.
Yeah. I'm thinking back to my actual thoughts during the Clinton-Lewinsky scandal. It was like, I remember adults thinking like, I mean, is it right that he's like threatened to be impeached over this thing that wasn't actually something to do with his political actions? And it's like, in my mind, and my preteen probably mind at the time, it was very much of like, well, he did a bad thing though, and people who do bad things shouldn't be trusted to do good things, and so that's the ideal for sure. But yeah, in a modern context, I mean, I think there it's always shades of gray, of course. There are certain, like the current president. I'm not going to say that, the sex scandal is the one thing that would keep me from voting for him. Like, there's plenty of other things going on as well. If I had to, I would choose realism, I guess is the short way to say it, that there is an aspect that in a utopia, yeah, let's go for the pure candidate for sure. But right now we're far from that. And I think we just need to get some progress first. And a lot of that is going to get down to someone who can actually get in there and get work done. And that is sometimes the person who might have a little bit more checkered of a past. I think there's certainly a threshold where the past becomes so checkered that you can't trust the character itself. The floor of their character just falls out from underneath them. In specifically Stanton's case, it's all based around this womanizing stuff to an extent. If it's Kashmir McLeod and the teachers union rep and all these people, sure, I'd probably still vote and work for him. The 17-year-old pregnant thing, that's starting to get into a realm where I'm going to be questioning a lot more about, when did this relationship start? A lot of questions around that would be starting to get into that character examination.
A lot of what, again, trying not to delve too much into the contemporary, but a lot of what I've heard is do you think this person is capable of that, right? And a lot of it speaks to your own bias too, right? Well, it's such a terrible thing to do, not justifying any of it, but it's such a terrible thing. Is that something that's going to make or break your loyalty to that person, or is that something well, it's not, whatever. You start splitting hairs on something that, if it was the other way around, would that be something you'd condemn somebody for? If it was the other foot, would that be something that would be the talk of the town? I think that there's a lot of where your own perceptions lie as far as what's acceptable and what's not.
I think it would heavily depend for me on the amount and the context and also the other candidates available. But like JC mentioned, like everyone, you're not going to find the perfect candidate. I, like Nick, would prefer the Sunshine and Rainbow's perfect candidate, but I also know that's not going to exist. But it would depend heavily, in this case, the thing that we kept going over with this candidate is like, yes, he cared and he wanted to make good differences. That ranks very highly for him. But he had so many of these things and they kept going and there's no indication they're going to stop. So that makes me hesitate. So it would probably end up coming down to other things for me, like how many of these things are we going to have? What are the other candidate options? Because even there's plenty of things with the current political spectrum that I'm like, how does this one not break you? But that's what the other people are voting for too. They're doing the same. Like, we can't get a perfect candidate. They're voting for the person who they think is going to get what they want done. Same thing, I guess. It's a tough choice, and for me, it's going to depend a lot on the circumstances. I think the movie could, for me, have given more details about what he wanted to do or the other candidates, because yeah, he wasn't a bad guy in some things. There was some really gray areas that if they continue, yeah, this one section of your life doesn't rule necessarily your entire life. However, when you keep making that decision again and again and again, that makes me like, so and how you justify that is very easily slip down a road to other atrocities.
Absolutely. I thought again about, I made the comment earlier about if nobody checks your worst impulses, like, well, what can I get away with? And I'll just keep doing this thing because, nobody stopped me yet. Clearly, Stanton, when he walks out in the very beginning with the librarian union person, like, everybody sees him. He knows he's seen with her, but there's all these, what's your community of enablers doing, right? Is anybody checking your impulses? Is anybody telling you this is what you shouldn't be doing? Like, everybody condemns it when it comes out, and it's like, how could you do this? I'm not going to work for you anymore. And Henry wants to walk away, but ultimately doesn't. If you have this community of people who are seemingly okay with what you're doing, maybe what I'm doing isn't that bad. Maybe you keep doing it. And it's just, it's S22. circumspect.
I think it's even telling that Henry, his breaking point wasn't even the 17-year-old daughter potentially had his kid. It was that, oh, he's gonna bring up this other guy's dirt, and that's the point where Henry was like, nope, that's too much. But even like just to somewhat bring slight modern parallels to it, early on, Jack is in the very cheap hotel room, and he calls it specifically loser cheap, and I thought like, okay, this is Trump now. So it's very much okay, it was stark how much you get both the progressive education is everything, and then at his worst, it's the worst scandals of the right as well, just sort of commingling as a single progressive candidate, for lack of a better word, better descriptor.
All right. Well, real quickly, just to wrap up, did you guys want to do any standard questions, or are we far enough down that the standard
favorite character
question
is Adrian Monk?
I think Gary's trying to give an opinion, but I can't hear him.
No, Steven's like, are we all wrapped up? I was like, no, Steven, we're not. I had a question at the very beginning. I've been waiting very patiently, and that is, how many fucking people does Steven actually know in this movie? And I had to look it up. I've been IMDbing while he's been blah, blah, blahing. And this movie has way too much talent for how, you guys are way too deep into the politicals. I was like, is it an entertaining movie as a movie's sake? It's okay. But it has way too much talent in it for what Steven liking this movie deserves. There are 5 Oscar winners involved in this movie. And I challenge Steven, who do you think the 5 Oscar winners are in this movie?
Even though it's not a Jack Ryan thriller, let's be fair.
Even though it's not Jack Ryan. I don't know how many
nuclear submarines.
Oscar winners are in a Jack Ryan thriller.
I don't know. John Travolta, Billy Bob Thornton, Kathy Bates.
Yes.
Emma Thompson. I'm naming the characters that I remember now.
You're doing great.
That's actually really good.
And that's it. That's all the characters I know.
The one you missed was Allison Janney, who won for I, Tonya.
PJ Craig.
PJ Craig.
Walsh.
And the bonus one that it took me a while to dig to is the director also directed The Graduate. So the director, also Rob Reiner is in this movie, and Rob Reiner is a better director than he is an actor.
Well, I mean,
he's fine.
Gary, you did hit the 2 questions that I did want to ask as well. Did you enjoy this movie? And I have these written down. Did you enjoy this movie as a form of entertainment? And did you enjoy this movie as anything more? So, Gary, do you want to answer those real quick first before everyone else?
It was okay. As anything more, no. I just think it could have been more. It could have been more robots or dancing.
I can't wait to find the perfect movie for Gary someday.
I don't know what
Speed 2, Cruise Control.
It had all the A-list actors. It had a high-quality budget. It just kept me entertained from start to finish.
Velocipaster.
I just like that Gary was like, you guys are too deep on this political and thoughts and feelings. The important question is, and I have been very patient, is how many people does Steven know?
It was just I was like, oh, well, it's got it was a lot of big name actors who maybe weren't huge at the time, but I was like just finding out that how much money they might have thrown into this, because the director's already won an Oscar, Emma Thompson's already won an Oscar, Kathy Bates has already won an Oscar, Billy Bob Thornton might have been after this, but you had a lot of fucking talent in this movie, and I feel like they all could have been doing better things.
I mean, that's definitely opinion, Gary. So anyone else? What about you? Did you like this movie as a form of entertainment? Did you like this movie as anything more?
Yeah, I thought it was a great movie. I definitely intend to watch it again at some point, just to try and pay a little bit closer attention and make some more solidified thoughts on things. But yeah, I thought it was a really great examination of just how messy politics is and how messy the people behind it are. As much as I love a good Aaron Sorkin, West Wing, and Newsroom, etc., it's very fantastical in the way that it presents everything as sort of roses.
Yes, and that's, I mean, coming off of that, Stephen, I did enjoy this movie quite a bit, and I could definitely see the things that I can tell that you would enjoy about it as well. I did like the different take, because West Wing can be a bit idealistic sometimes. I still enjoy West Wing more, sorry, but I would watch it again.
I thought it was a good movie, and outside of that, it was an interesting look at kind of politics from like a different lens, even though unfortunately that lens is probably very outdated by now.
You mean cell phones aren't the way that you pick up dirt on your opponents?
Well, just even running a whole political campaign and stuff like that with the advent of social media and all of that jazz. It is so different, and the 24-hour news cycle and all of that you have to deal with.
That guy chasing down people and forcing them to accept leaflets did strike me similar to some ways that social media does throw things at you, though. So maybe he was seeing the future.
Yeah, I was gonna say that in terms of like, I was thinking whenever you were mentioning like that it was outdated and stuff, like I had the thought whenever Billy Bob Thornton is sitting there just being a blatant sexual harassment, and I'm like, I wonder how far off this is like from modern politics. Like I'm sure there's total sleazebags that are still very effective that just haven't been canceled yet and somehow survived Me Too and all that stuff that are just still pervasive in certain circles of politics. But then yeah, in terms of the flyers and cell phones, yeah, outdated after all.
Also, in the IMDb search, I had to figure out if Harvey Weinstein produced this movie because I was just like, how that Billy Bob Thornton scene ran. I was like, but it wasn't. But I was like, this would totally make sense in that kind of sleazeball human's thought process. Anyway.
I enjoyed it. I don't know if I would seek it out. If it was on TV, I think I'd watch it again. I probably enjoyed it more as something more than just entertainment. If I wanted to be entertained, I don't know if I would flip it on. But as far as something more, you can definitely gain a better view of the political sphere, how it's run, and both the perils and the progress that you can get from reviewing that. It can show like the union scene like we talked about, or when he's at the Krispy Kreme really trying to connect with this person and their plight of trying to get their leg fixed at the Krispy Kreme and what the one person's late night shift means to them. But also the union, and like when he's really connecting with people, you can see there's hope. There's something good there. This is going to be something. We can hang on to this and run with it. But also the perils of fame and of the fast lifestyle. So interesting for sure.
I guess for me, I did enjoy this movie again as a form of entertainment. I enjoyed it the first time I watched it. I enjoyed it this time. I vehemently disagree with Gary that they should have been doing other things with their lives, these actors, because I do believe it is very well acted. I believe it is powerful.
I never said it wasn't well acted. I just think that these people could have been in better movies.
Yeah, anyways. But it was, the big thing for me is I enjoyed it as something more. And that was the big reason why I wanted to bring it up, because it was a big transformational movie for me when I was in my senior in high school. It was one of those things that shows you, that kind of brings you out of the woodwork as a, like I said, I was a very political teenager, very political high schooler. And it kind of goes to show that, hey, your politics don't really matter. Your ideas, what you believe, don't really matter shit when it comes to the political arena. What matters in the political arena is all this other stuff, all this maneuvering, all this different thing that you wouldn't necessarily believe when you're just saying, oh, well, obviously my idea is better than yours. How can you not believe that my idea is better than yours? That doesn't matter. What matters is the actual political structure, the actual how maneuverings and the political science, to be, I guess, a bow on it. It's the actual political science that matters and that actually gets something done. It's not and sad to say, it's not what you believe. So, Gary?
Steven, do you feel like this is an accurate representation of politics at the time, or do you think it's a caricature and it's just reinforcing people's assumptions about politicians?
I think it is both a caricature and a realistic interpretation. I think it is a caricature in that I think it portrays it for a movie, right? So it's going to go out on a ledge on several different things just to make it fun. Excuse me. But when you get down to it, I do believe that there's a lot more Machiavellian attitudes in professional politics than the average person would believe. The average person just wants to look at their senator, look at their House member, look at their president and say, why don't they adopt my political ideal? Obviously, my political ideal is right. Look at all this stuff. I can point to all these facts, or I can point to all this moral standing. Why can't they get this right? It's so complicated. It is so damn complicated. And that is it, when you're going into all these different, and I think the setting of the political primary is perfect, because you're not even dealing with the entire country writ large at that point. You're dealing with one section of the country, and it is still so complicated. You are dealing with your own political party, and it is still so damn complicated. And
okay. I just was like wondering if this was, I don't know, like giving people a false narrative to the way things work. But you think there's some realistic and there's some character. But I don't know. I think sometimes movies can give a false narrative so that people don't actually understand the process. They understand the process based on what they've been told or shown. So is this giving false narrative that people maybe, if they'd seen it, be like, oh yeah, that's totally how it works, because I have no other information to tell me otherwise?
I think that would be an accurate statement. I think that any movie about politics, any movie about history is going to give you an inaccurate representation of what it actually is. If you want to learn about history, if you want to learn about politics, pick up a book. If you want to have a good time and you want to, if you want to have a good time and you don't want to kind of hate yourself, watch a movie. You're not going to understand exactly what's going on. And you're probably, like Gary said, going to get a inaccurate representation. But as long as you don't watch a movie, and I've had someone do this to me before, as long as you don't watch Doctor Who and then walk up to someone studying foreign affairs and go, well, obviously you have to understand that all war is bad because listen to this line from Doctor Who. As long as you're not that person, yeah, enjoy it. Enjoy it for what it is.
Okay, cool. As I said, like it wasn't terrible. It was okay.
Well, I have nothing else. Did anyone else have anything?
I mentioned my favorite character was Adrian Monk because Tony Shalhoub has a small bit part. Second favorite character would be British. What's that?
Where's he in this movie?
Tony Shalhoub is the cocaine guy for Picker that they first go see.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, I guess I didn't...
like the brother from the estate deal, and who mentions that he was into cocaine.
Pool,
I was gonna say, yeah. Second favorite character is British Henry, because whenever he tells Libby to watch the road, God damn it, his British accent slips out. This is the first time.
Does it? I didn't notice.
It was so noticeable that I was like, "Is he not? He's not American?" As I had to Google it, and it's like, "Okay, he's a British actor." That's exactly what that was.
Did not realize that.
My two little nitpicks, observations, Easter eggs.
I think Libby was my favorite character. It's probably just the character Kathy Bates that plays it. She just jumps out at the movie. I find her, every scene she's in is fun and well acted and explosive in some way.
If I had to actually choose a real character, I'd say Emma Thompson's Susan Stanton.
I really did love Emma Thompson's character.
Even early on.
How she played her. She did just a great job.
Yeah. Overall, the character is probably not like the best person in the movie, but just like in terms of the most depth, I felt like it was a lot going on there. Even like early on, like one of the first things that she says to Henry is, "That's the real thing experience teaches you, isn't it? How not to get burned." And he's like, "Well, you think people ever learn that?" And she says, "Not the best people." And at that point, I had to like pause the movie and like, okay, this is gonna be a movie where I'm gonna have to like really pay attention to the dialogue, make sure I'm not missing anything super, because like that was one I had to sit there and think on, let it percolate a bit. So it was just, and as you go on to the rest of the movie, she's continually getting burned, and she has not learned how to avoid it at this point. So it's just extra layers upon layers with that one.
I think Kathy Bates was good. I think Billy Bob Thornton's character was just kooky characters in the background of like everyone else trying to play it straight and them going. Did anyone else think that John Travolta could have been somebody else? Like could have like it was he kind of jumped to a caricature like too much of like the fake Bill Clinton accent. Like if he would have been in a consistent real accent, if he would just used his normal voice, I feel like it would have been more believable. Steven?
I think that was actually one of the criticisms of him in this movie, was that he was too much of a caricature. He didn't act as much, and that's why Emma Thompson did such a good job, even though she didn't base anything that she did off of Hillary Clinton. She did a very good job acting the entire thing through, while
playing
John
the
Travolta,
character.
yeah, John Travolta
being the character between the lines.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess, yeah. I feel like that is definitely a detractor throughout the whole movie. Is just like, okay, like he's got that goddamn accent again. Like, can you just use a normal voice? Like, yeah. Anyway,
Gary doesn't like people with accents.
I don't. Is Emma Thompson actually British too? Like Emma Thompson, I think is.
Do you remember in Stranger in Fiction they made a comment about how she wasn't on the list because he thought he'd mentioned the accent when he was describing the narrator? Just me.
All right.
Her father is English born, her mother is Scottish born. So studied English literature. Anyway, useless knowledge.
Have we hit the end of our podcast then, Steven?
Yeah, I don't have anything else.
Okay. I believe next time then we are looking at watching Gary's selection of the movie Secondhand Lions.
Better be good production quality. If it's not good production quality, I'm gonna fuck it.
It's not really great production quality. This wasn't a turning point in my life.
Down
it's
the
not
other.
Like Tyler, like his favorite movie he tries to convince people to watch. Like it was just a movie that it was good. I enjoy it. So
sorry, just clarify. Are you saying that this is worse production quality than the Beastmaster? Because I need to prepare myself. So
is there going to be nudity we need to be aware of, or
transformative?
I don't know. There might be some nudity in there. There might be old man nudity if I'm not crossing wires.
Isn't this movie rated like G?
It probably is.
PG.
Yeah, it's somewhere between Beastmaster and Primary Colors. Like, it's not amazing production quality. It follows a couple characters. So I'll leave you low expectation. Let's just assume it's gonna be Beastmaster, and then you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Under the sex and nudity section on IMDb, we're bringing back this feature from I can't remember which season. Garth tells Walter a story about two twins that he and Hub met back in starts to say something presumably sexual about them, but stops. So, for sex and nudity, none.
Okay.
Gotcha. All right, then. Well, that'll do it then for us for this episode here. We want to thank our listener.
How long do we need to set aside for that movie? As you're probably already in the IMDb.
Your movie? How long do we need to set aside for your movie?
An hour and 49 minutes long.
Okay.
So, anyways, we want to thank
do we need to watch the First-Hand Lions?
Yeah, is that a precursor, prequel thing I need to say?
Prequel? No, I don't. If that movie exists, I feel like that might be just like a random movie called First-Hand Lions, and just be like, what the fuck did Gary make us watch? Anyway.
Anyways, now I'm going to end the podcast here. So we want to thank our dear listener for listening in, and we will see you next time. Have a good one, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
But really, you're gonna stick with us, right, listener? You're gonna stick with us? Can't do it without you, listener.
I'm sorry.
Listener?